Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 59 of the Hardly Millennial podcast, where we're young, dumb, and full of
opinions.
And even more opinions.
Oh, man, guys.
So many opinions, we can't handle it.
There's three fucking people here today, guys. Three fucking people again. You get three of us. All right, guys, welcome today. So to get started, I actually thought we would just kind of pick up where we left off yesterday, because after we finished the podcast, Justin, you had mentioned that you actually wanted to talk about specifically the word love.
Oh yeah,
and what
good
that
memory
means to people. So I figured we could start from there and see where this journey takes us today.
Interesting.
Sure.
Justin, describe love.
Well, I would first like to say that I do believe that the word love matters. It's a very powerful word. I think that the word love somehow insinuates that there's a cause, right? That two people share that's bigger than just the one of them. But I do think that when it comes to love, you truly, and I hate to use cliches, I really hate it, but you truly need to love yourself before you can love somebody else. And it's not that you're not capable of loving someone else. I just don't think you're doing yourself any favors or the other person. And one way I like to put that is that you need to be in a relationship with yourself. You can't leave that up to somebody else to do for you. And a lot of the time, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for another person to be in a relationship with us so we don't have to be in a relationship with ourselves. And that's a really important thing to have. So I think we should kind of open up there and then start on the way that we use the word love, because those are actually two different conversations along the same kind of line. So,
well, let me ask you this first. So and this is just me kind of playing devil's advocate here.
Yes.
So you had mentioned that we should learn to love ourselves before we expect to bring somebody else into our life, correct?
And love us.
And love us.
Right.
Okay. So let's say that you have an individual who really struggles with that, right? They really struggle to love themselves. They really struggle to find things that make them truly happy. Mm-hmm. It's a constant battle for them. And let's say maybe they believe in that subject, but they also do want to find somebody and settle down one day and have kids and have a family and all of that. But so is there a point in their life where maybe they should cut their losses and go out and try to find somebody before maybe the time that they truly do love themselves? Just because at some point you reach a certain age, if they're, in their mid to late 30s and they're still working on this loving themselves concept, but they still want to find somebody, at that point should they not cut their losses, or do you think they should just never find somebody until they're truly happy with themselves?
Well, I think it's all well and good to try to find companionship on your journey to loving yourself. But I don't think that a truly, truly successful relationship can blossom out of it unless that is accomplished first. Mm-hmm. So I do believe it's possible for someone to help you learn to love yourself, but really until you've decided to make a conscious effort, it's not going to happen. And a lot of the times that happens in giving up on finding another person, accepting that there's a possibility you could be alone for the rest of your life, and then moving on and just living your life as somebody who may be single for the rest of their life. A healthy mind in general is going to learn how to be happy in their situation. It's kind of like a survival tactic. Mm-hmm. An unhealthy mind, we see them all the time. People who just try to patch up their lives with relationships. It never works. It feels good. It's a Band-Aid, and it's definitely a coping mechanism, and we all need to cope every once in a while. I had a very rough morning, and I want to eat. Do I need to eat? I do not need to eat. Am I going to eat? You betcha. It's not going to fix my morning, but it's going to make me feel better this morning.
Right.
So you can use people as a coping mechanism. To me, that's still using people. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's mutual use. And if that's your thing, that's your thing.
Well, isn't that what relationships are, though? You both have to benefit something from the relationship, right?
Right, but 1 + 1, because that's how many people are in a relationship, should equal 2.
Right.
Okay? One person, if they bring in a whole bunch of baggage that just brings everything down, and the other person has a little bit more enrichment in their lives, so one's at a -5, one's at a +2, it's not fair to the other person to then combine the two who was at a +2 and bring them down to a -2. It's not right. You have to contribute equal amount. So I can't say from experience that I've always loved myself, but I can truly say that nothing interpersonal that's very healthy has ever come about it until I did learn how to love myself.
Okay.
So how do you feel about this, Matthew?
Well, so I agree with everything you're saying, very much so, particularly when it comes to intimate love, when it comes to loving like a significant other, like a relationship.
Right.
Totally agree with it in that. But it's interesting because yesterday me and you were discussing a lot how we differ on how we think that words matter. And
Right.
I was taking the opinion of words really do matter and you not so much. And in this case, it's actually a little bit flip-flopped. I grossly overuse the word love. I say it way too much. But I also am a really firm believer that you can have the same level of love that you have for an intimate relationship with a person who you plan to never have sex with. So I think you can love people on an intimate level and fully know that you'll never be intimate with them. Does that make sense?
So there's 2 different kinds of intimate.
Yeah, so I think you can have a friend who is your friend and who you really enjoy and who's your best friend. But then I think you can also have a friend who you love. You actually fall in love with that person. But it's nothing sexual. I don't think that sex equals love in any way. I think sex is just a benefit that comes out of loving one particular person in your life.
Right. Well, that's 2 different kinds of love, and there's also many different kinds of sex, I think, too.
True. Absolutely. Absolutely. But to kind of answer the original question here, I very much agree with the whole concept that you have to be at your best before you could give to anyone else, especially in a relationship that is intimate, that's your partner.
Yeah, I think when it comes to finding like a significant other, somebody you do have sex with and somebody who you do decide to like start a life with, I think there are too many people who try to find somebody like that because they think that's what's going to fill the void and make them happy, and that's how you get those shitty relationships.
Yeah, that's destined to fail.
Whereas when you're trying to find somebody, or if you do find somebody, that person should be a bonus in your life, but not a necessity.
So everything adds together, right?
Right,
Exactly.
Justin definitely has that philosophy. You taught me that philosophy, actually.
So when you
Wait for Disneyland.
You don't have to be a perfect person, though, to
Right.
look for love. You just have to be okay with yourself and appreciate yourself. So, I'd be lying, especially on a day like today, to say that my boyfriend does not struggle with self-love. That'd be a lie. My boyfriend does suffer with from issues in that arena. But the arena in which we met was another past podcast. It was a hobby. And that is a place where he feels that he can contribute a lot. That is a place where he feels really strong and confident. And I think he really does love that part of himself. And that's really what drew us together, was that really confident part of himself. And if you're really able to live in that space, really focus in on there, right? You can really build a self-love. You don't necessarily tackle your demons. Those things might show up later. But if you can really find a place in your life that you love being in, so that hobby space, and you kind of neglect the other space, you can start a relationship in that very positive, self-loving space. You don't have to be perfect to find someone to be with you forever.
Right.
Okay, you just have to find a place where you're capable of self-love. That's it. So I think he found his place. And I think now we're able to visit those dark places that still exist, but we're rooted in a place where both of us at least have found somewhere where we have self-love. So, Adam, what is a place where you feel very confident? You can speak on it, you can act on it, something that you just feel very confident in that arena.
I mean, I guess maybe film.
Sure.
You know,
There's
yeah.
a lot of, you feel confident in a lot of different things. You
Yeah.
feel confident in your physical appearance.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
Okay.
I just try not to sound too cocky, but yeah.
Well, I'm calling you out.
That was beautiful, folks.
Calling you the fuck out on that. Adam and I share a bathroom. Okay?
I'm jealous.
I would sacrifice a lot of things to be able to look the way Adam looks with no clothes on. And when he walks through my room every morning, I'm happy for him for it, and I hate him for it. So, in an arena where people were evaluated based on the way that they look, right? Adam would thrive. He has a lot of self-love when it comes to the way that he physically looks. He doesn't always feel that way about the way that he feels.
True.
His maybe not the actual physical health or the emotional health. We all go through ups and downs with those, but we'll say the way that he looks, right?
His attractiveness.
Right. So when he's really feeling himself, really having a good day, and he just knows he's looking good. When he meets a woman that day, and she is also in that space,
Right.
okay?
Oh, wow. That just clicked for me in my
Yeah,
head
it
right
did-
now.
it did for
right
me,
as
too.
you said those words, your point you're about to say just clicked in my head. Go
Okay,
ahead,
and they're
finish.
both living in that space at that moment. That is two people who at that moment really love themselves and who are going to meet. Now, sure, at this point it is skin deep, but the effects of this skin deep trait are really affecting how they feel inside. Every time those two people see each other, they're not going to think about their demons. They're going to think about the good space that they met each other in. They're going to remind themselves of the good space that they met each other in, and they are going to remind themselves how important it is to love themselves. It's not going to be the thought process that goes through your head, but it is going to be the process that your subconscious is going through. So take the film, for example.
Right.
Okay? The film thing. You're in film class, you know your shit. Everyone in that class maybe knows their shit, but you kind of know your shit a little bit more. And there is a girl, maybe a 4.5, 5, maybe a 6. I don't know how many 6s there are in film school. That was a joke. That is a crack. Don't come hating me for that. Okay? So now these are two people who are in the space of self-love. Wow, I'm smart. Wow, I know this. Wow, I'm glad I studied this. Wow, I'm glad that I went through a YouTube rabbit hole about this. And now you and this person have a lot in common, and you have a lot to contribute. Okay? In that time, in that place, you are in a space of self-love. You're going to always associate each other with that. And that is when you have that magic of, she doesn't look like a 4 anymore.
Right.
Okay? She makes you love yourself. You make her love herself because you guys met in this space. And then you start to really fall for each other in that way. I'm not saying this has ever happened or may happen.
Right.
I'm just saying that that's how it can happen.
So really, essentially, what you're saying is first impressions are important.
And self-love gives the best first impression.
And it's interesting you bring that up because I went, for those out there, I went through a breakup back in October. And one of the people I confided in was obviously my mother, and both my parents in general. And one thing they were telling me about, like, when they met, and they kind of were talking about what you just said, I do believe there are people out there who maybe, meant for each other or would do well with each other, but they just meet at the wrong times, right?
Right.
And one thing my mom had said about, or that my dad said about my mom and him, were the reason why they even happened in the first place is because they met at a point in their life where they were both at the same point in their life. They were both struggling with the same things. They both had similar experiences, and they were both able to grow with each other because they were in that space together.
I have a quick question for both of you guys on this, because So there's a lot of good points being made here. And with all these points that we've gathered, do you guys think that you can force it? Do you think you can force love, or you have to find it naturally? Like, do you think you can put yourself in, if you're confident in film, can you put yourself on a set every single day and force love to happen, or does it have to be organic?
Well, I think in regards to like that particular analogy, it just depends on the passion. If you truly love somebody and you truly have a passion for that somebody, it's not going to feel like work, right? So you and I have talked about film sets before, and I've said that people who usually work on film for a living, they're working 6 days a week, and in those 6 days, they're working 12 to 14 to sometimes 20 hours a day, but they're constantly doing it every single day. Nobody forces themselves to do that. There has to be a passion there to be able to do something like that. So that's what bothers me through just my life. I've had different people come to me when they've had issues with their own relationships and such, and I think sometimes I come off as an asshole when I tell people this, especially if they're retelling the story to somebody. But it always just comes down to, like, if somebody's not willing to put in the effort for you, you shouldn't waste your time putting in the effort for them. There has to be that mutual passion.
I guess my question was more, can you trick love? Can you
Right. I
trick it to
understood your
coming
question.
around earlier in your life than it should?
No.
No, you
Well,
can't, can you?
No.
It's kind of like a force of nature almost, isn't it?
Well, but I have to disagree a little bit on that, because I do think to an extent you can, and I think there's been examples of this over the years. I'll use a couple examples. So first I'll use my parents as an example, right? I have definitely seen my parents go through some rough shit, in their life, in their marriage, but they're still going 30 plus years strong, and now I see them at more of a place where they seem more genuinely happy with each other.
Well, yeah, they have commitment for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think going through those rough times created a love that we're just too young and too inexperienced to understand because we haven't been through it.
So you don't think that amount of love started day one and held them through it? You think that they built up to that amount of love by going through obstacles together?
Of course there was love there to begin
but
with.
not the amount to hold you through all the time. You have to build it as you go.
Yeah, well, and I think there are examples of that in the past where a perfect example of something that still is practiced a lot in the world and in some westernized countries too is arranged marriages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two people are forced to be with each other, and there's a lot of cases of those people being married, 30, 40, 50 plus years, and I think maybe if they didn't even love each other when they first met because they were basically forced to marry each other, I think they are very much in love with each other now because
really?
they've been forced to go through. Yeah,
Even though it started as an obligation.
Yeah, I think it's something that we can't understand because we've just never been through it.
So
but
Adam says you can build love.
I have a question
forcefully.
for Adam. Do you think 100% of those marriages go the entire way and exist with love?
No, but I always think that's the end result.
Well, but it's not always the end result.
Well, no, of course not always. There's going to be exceptions to any rule.
Right.
But
So do you think that the ones that started in a place of self-love are probably the ones that are going to be successful?
Well, yes, absolutely. But the question was, could you learn to love? Could you build love?
Can you force love?
If that's not even there at all, if the self-love thing is not there, but in this analogy, you've been forced into a position where you have to marry somebody and learn to love somebody who you never loved before, maybe at a place where you didn't have any self-love also, that love is possible to grow from that.
So I want to hear Justin's take on it too, because I was thinking like the very beginning of love, when the seed is being sown of love. Can you force that part?
If you go, well, let's start on the arranged marriage thing.
Yeah.
If you go your entire life very aware that you are going to be in an arranged marriage, that's just how
Yes.
it works in your culture. There's already a sense of love for the person that you're going to be with. Already. Okay, you are
sense of
hoping
something,
already
yeah.
that you are already going to be very much in love with them because you already know that is going to happen to you. So you're also a lot more in a place where You have self-love because you are honored that you are doing it. You are taking on a tradition. You are following
Helping
the,
your family,
the rules,
usually.
right? And you feel great about that. You think that this is the right thing to do. You're doing your part. And I think that there's an amount of self-love when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Somebody who maybe is overweight or not particularly attractive, I think that an arranged marriage is almost a way for them to completely surpass that. They don't have to worry about finding a mate. Their mate has already been picked for them.
Yeah.
All they have to do is really focus on the fact that they're doing their due diligence and they can love themselves for that. To me, it does have to come back to self-love. And in that case, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Just kind of go along with it. Now, you're going to have those people that don't get any type of self-love out of that kind of arrangement. And I don't feel that those are ever truly happy marriages.
Like
I
people
think,
who resent it, who
Right.
fight back against it from
and maybe
day
they're
one.
in it for their entire life. And maybe you can really learn to love the person and appreciate them for loving you, even though you went into this hard-headed.
Right. I get what you're saying.
Okay? But I don't think it's ever going to be the kind of love that comes from two people that come from a place of self-love. And to some people, that's just fine. Any kind of love for the rest of your life is better than a divorce to some people.
I
It's
would think
better.
so, right?
It's
Better
better
to love than not at all.
I mean, I don't feel that way. I would much rather have waited 60 years and finally had that connection with someone, after I've been in a state of self-love for 30 years. And I think that's an even better way. You're not going to die alone at the end of the day. So
in your opinion, just about everybody, with maybe a few very odd exceptions, just about everyone achieves love in the same manner, using the same equation with different variables.
real love,
Real love. Yeah, actual true love.
in my opinion, yes.
There is an algorithm to achieving love
Well-
that if you work hard enough at, you
Self-love.
will get there.
If you work hard enough to love yourself,
Then
you will most
someone
definitely
else
get
will
that.
find you.
But there is something to be said about baggage that just matches. Okay? If somebody wants to depend on somebody so bad to turn their brain off and not thinking about loving themselves, and somebody else hates themselves so much that they don't want to think about loving themselves and they want to love somebody else only, there is going to be some element of compatibility.
Absolutely.
It's just going to work, and knowing it can work forever. If one person likes to shit all over the floor and the other person's hobby is cleaning up shit, that's disgusting.
made
and
for
it's
each other,
sick.
though.
But
They have a perfect chemistry.
exactly,
Yeah.
If someone's fulfilling their calling of shitting all over the floor, and they love themselves for that, okay,
Then someone's
you're-
going to say, look at them shitting on the floor. I want to go clean that.
And I love myself for wanting to clean up their shit. Okay, this is super weird. We
Super
went to a weird
metaphorical,
place.
guys. We're just, yeah.
I'm just saying that's how I'm just trying to make it, clear that there is a point where compatibility, while it's not understood everywhere, it's still coming from some kind of fulfillment, some kind of self-love.
Well, so do you think you can find somebody who's like 100% compatible with you in that way and not love them?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
So then what's love? So if because the way that it feels like it's being described right now is that love comes from self-love and being able to find somebody who's able to pick up the pieces that you're dropping, right? And vice versa. So you're getting use out of the other person, for lack of a better word.
Well, I'm
right?
saying that two people being able to mutually use each other is a
Benefit from
good
each other is a better way to say it.
compromise to two people who never particularly reached self-love. It is possible. But no, I think that you can meet someone that you're compatible with and not love them. That was your question, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, a lot of the talk that we've had so far is in regards to having, getting something out of the relationship, essentially, right? You know, it has to be something that either helps both of you grow, whatever it is, but you're getting something from the other party involved in it.
Yeah, but my point was that as long as both people are coming from a place of self-love, that will inevitably happen. So two people can be very compatible, but not be in a place of self-love, and therefore they won't fall in love. I mean, remember, this is my opinion. This is not me shooting that down. But
Right.
I've
No,
thought
I
about
feel
this a lot because I refuse to let myself get into anything really committed until I thought that I had achieved this. And sure enough, I meet someone who has self-worth issues and doesn't always love themselves. So then I have to think, well, how did this happen then? And that's how it happened. We met at a place of self-love. We came into an arena of both of us really having a strong love of animals. We were both confident there. We both loved that part of ourselves. And that's where we lived for a while, in that space.
Was it at first sight? What do you think about like the whole love at first sight thing? Do you think that's possible, or along with your algorithm, you have to work towards it?
You know, we've actually talked about this once during a podcast, and it's really hard to just answer this clearly because I don't want to contradict myself. But
And I'm not trying to trick you or anything. I'm truly just interested. So if you do contradict a little, I'm okay with that.
I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about these people listening.
And they will. They'll get you.
'Cause
You guys are great.
But I remember we talked about it like a month ago on a marriage podcast.
But in essence, do you think that it's something you have to work towards, or you can find yourself at a place where it just clicks all at once?
I think that if you are in a place of self-love, that you can absolutely fall in love at first sight. The reason I don't like saying first sight
Right.
is because I felt the same way the first time I physically saw my boyfriend as I did when we were first texting.
Okay.
Nothing changed.
So the sense of sight didn't change the emotion.
Right. It was a sense of contact.
Contact.
Of
So
any
love
kind.
at first contact would almost be a little bit
And I
better way
do
to say
believe
it.
in that. And I wouldn't have believed in that until I figured out that feeling I felt in the beginning all the way to what I feel now is love. Once I realized that, then I could rewind and realize that I do actually believe in love at first sight / contact. I mean, I believe that somebody who is blind can fall in love at first contact.
Yeah, I
See what
think
I'm saying?
the sight thing is a metaphor. Love at first sight is a metaphor for love at
that's why I'm
first
careful.
interaction. Yeah. I know that personally I've never felt that way about a human. I've never just all of a sudden looked at or experienced a person for the first time ever, realized they existed and fell in love with them.
Yeah,
I feel that I've been in love, truly in love before, but I do feel that it was something that had to be worked to achieve.
Do you think
So
that
maybe I've just never found true love.
Do you think that if both of you came from a place of complete self-love first, that might have been a little bit different?
Yes. And I think that's what a lot of people mean when they say, if I would have met this person at a different stage in my life, things would have been totally different. At that stage they're talking about is that amount of self-love they have for themselves.
Right. Now, with the case of Adam's parents, I know them, and I believe that they love each other very, very much. A lot of people, once you are together for that long, you raise children, and that's like a really great distraction. I'm not saying that's why your parents had children. I'm just saying when you have children in the house, that's kind of a goal and a project.
it's a mutual project that both of you are
Yes.
into.
Or for someone who doesn't have children,
Pets.
your hobbies can be those things.
Yeah.
So you can really fall in love with someone based on their commitment to this hobby, right? To this project. And you can really look at them and fall in love with the way that they're able to raise this thing that you love so much. Self-love actually really takes a back seat a lot of the time when you're raising children. And I think that's one of the reasons that relationships can go south. You really don't understand that, you're not giving yourself the attention that you need. So if you're not getting that from the other person a lot of the time, you're not feeling it anywhere. And that's why marriages can be such a struggle sometimes. You get back into, working together to raise children. And then the little shit grows up and says, I fucking hate both of you. You're awful people. And when you realize, because they always do.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you realize that you don't have that same investment, right? Because at this point you're sick of the kid, and you can't tell him that I hate you too. You suck.
Right.
You ruined my life. You can't tell that to your child. You ruined my body. My tits go to my belly button. You're left with your spouse.
Right.
And if both people have not been focusing really on self-love, I feel like you lose each other there, and it really takes a while to recover from that. So I don't think marriages should break up due to a lack of self-love, but I think we focus on sacrifice a lot. That's important, but we don't focusing on yourself and loving yourself.
I have a scandalous question
Ask
for you
it.
guys that is probably going to be kind of hard to answer on a podcast.
Real quick. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does make
Okay,
sense. Yeah,
cool.
absolutely.
I just want to make sure. I'm not licensed. I'm not a social worker, so I have to bounce it off my friends to make sure I don't sound crazy.
So I'm particularly interested in how Adam's going to answer this question, but I want to hear both of you. Since we've come to this conclusion about love and all these different ideas about it, and that you can love so many different people for so many different things throughout your life in different ways, does all that culminate into you guys thinking that human beings, like mankind, is supposed to be a monogamous species, like with one partner our whole life?
Ooh.
Or do you think that humans, it's a social thing that we've gotten that way, but in our essence are maybe supposed to be polygamous? I know it's a hard word to say out loud because it's very immediately naughty.
Well, no, I think we're a monogamous species.
You do? You think we're meant to be with one person the whole time?
Otherwise, that wouldn't be something that we all strive for. It wouldn't be taboo. That wouldn't be how our society was built.
But there are lots of us who don't go for that way of living.
Well, I mean, there's a lot, but I would argue that the percentage of
Throughout
polygamists
history.
out there are maybe small. Yeah,
It's a much more modern concept to be monogamous.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's true, but I don't know. I think when it comes to monogamy, when it comes to having to find one person to be intimate with, I think we still need other things in our life. But as far as an intimate partner, you only need one of those. So I think where a lot of marriages fail is what happens. They get stuck with just each other. They're not making new friends anymore. They're not going out. There's no other people in their life besides their children. And there's, like, I look at me and all of my friends, and the reason why I have the close circle of friends that I do. And it's because every friend that I have brings something different into my life. You, Justin, bring something different in my life. Matthew brings something different. Chris brings me something different.
Would you say you love all of
What
us?
about Kyle?
Yes, 100%.
Kyle.
Yeah.
So then that's
Okay.
polygamous right there.
But that's my point.
Because it doesn't have to be sex only. And if that's the connotation of the word, then I want to correct that in my question.
Because, well, then
I do not mean should we only have sexual relations with one person forever. I mean, are we supposed to be in pairs our lives, or are we supposed to be in groups for our whole life?
Okay, so with that redefining, I agree with you. I think we are more of a polygamist.
So for you, the monogamy
thing.
is sex. You should only have sexual relations with one person who you find, and after you find,
Yeah.
well, leading
yes,
to
yes,
it,
I
it can
know
be
what
multiple.
you mean,
But
yeah.
once you find that special person who you choose to become a partner with,
That's it.
That should be your only sexual relationship.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, Justin, what do you think?
I 100% disagree with all of that.
Ooh, I love it. Okay,
now-
enlighten.
Okay. First off, I am very happy in my relationship, and I do not desire anything else other than what I have.
Right.
But there are a couple of things. I mean, I've thought about this a lot in my life as well, and in my time being single and happy being that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so look at top predators. Okay, lions. There's one lion and a lot of lady lions.
Yes, there is.
Okay, and they are functional societies. They are apex predators. Okay,
And they're pack animals too, are they not?
absolutely.
Okay.
But at this point, there's one male.
Right.
After a man and a woman are intimate, generally, the male is tired and wants to sleep. Okay? That is not a compatibility thing. That is not compatible. The woman generally does not want to roll over and go to sleep.
It's a biological thing, you're saying.
She generally, wants to be affectionate, be touched. Okay? So I think it's very unnatural to want to be sexually monogamous. I think that we are made to have these interactions with lots of different people. And I do believe that we are meant to live in communities.
Yes. That's for sure. We're definitely community species. I think we can all agree on that.
No matter what you live in, is a very real feeling. Okay? Extremely. No matter what kind of community that you live in.
We all have it.
And preference, no matter what kind of a community you live in, is a very real emotion. So as long as we all have something in common, jealousy and preference, I think it's very clear to see how we end up with laws that are based around preference and jealousy.
But because we're prone to feel those things, wouldn't that equal monogamy as far as sexual partners are concerned?
I don't think so, because I think what we really worry that sex is going to be completely attached to emotion, and that if someone has sex with somebody else, that means that they somehow feel less about you. I think if we were able to get past that, we would be able to then treat sex as more of a pleasurable thing, because very few animals have sex simply for pleasure.
Yeah, it's always for a purpose, right? It's to reproduce.
Right, to reproduce.
Yeah.
And they're very adamant about it. It's very natural.
And they don't try to have sex for hours and hours like humans do.
Right.
They get it done, and then it's over, and they go back to eating and hunting and shit.
And I agree with that, which is why I don't think your lion analogy is a very good one, because lions aren't known for having sex because they enjoy it. They're known for having sex with multiple partners to be able to reproduce and grow the pack.
Well, I think that we have both of those. We have a desire to reproduce, and we have a desire to have sex for pleasure. And I think that we are designed to have a lot of partners, and we're not designed to get over being jealous, and we're not designed to just accept our preferences. So
You see just about everyone in our society, in American society, lives their life that way. As a young person, what do? You experiment, you explore yourself, you find out about who you are, right?
Right.
That means having fun in many different ways and having sex with different people.
Absolutely.
It's not everyone does it, but most people do it that way.
It's very natural. It's very unfair to call somebody a bad person for wanting that. Now,
right. It's very
I
common.
think there needs to be an understanding between two people. And if one person doesn't see the importance of monogamy but the other one does, there must be a compromise, and it must be a happy compromise. My boyfriend and I have a very happy compromise. I was never a monogamous person before. I didn't see the point of it, but I see how very important it is to him. And he's the most important thing to me, so I make the compromise.
Yeah, the ends justify the means.
Exactly. Yeah. And when I'm at my point of self-love, the opposite of monogamous is polygamous.
Polygamous.
Or is it promiscuous?
No, mono and poly. It's polygamous, but polygamy immediately gets the first thing anyone thinks of is
plural marriage.
And certain religious
polyamory.
Groups. Yeah, it's not just about that. It's not that. But that's what it's been turned into. The word has been turned into that.
Right. So
But here's the thing though. So I understand what you're saying, but when it comes to like sex and being with somebody emotionally and being intimate with them, and then making this conscious decision of, I also want to go and fuck other people, right? Because I believe that there's no emotion attached to that and I just want to do it. Well, if we are a species that's driven to want to have a lot of sex, which is going with Matthew said, why we have so much sex when we're younger.
Right.
Then
when we're most fertile.
Right. So why then does it matter when you find somebody who you connect with emotionally, and sex being an important part of a relationship, it's probably somebody you have really great sex with. So if you have found that person that can satisfy those sexual needs, why would it even be a question of, oh, but I also want to go have sex with other people, when you have somebody right there who can offer that for you?
What's your favorite food?
Pizza.
Okay.
This is going to be hard. I know where you're going with this.
So if you could only eat pizza, the same pizza, every day, forever, are you telling me that you would never
get
want
bored.
anything else other than pizza for the rest of your life? Ever?
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I just feel like in the case of, I get the analogy, I just think in the case of people in marriage and relationships, it just doesn't apply. I just feel like we are, because there are species out there that have evolved to be monogamous species.
And there are species that eat one thing only.
You're right. So they exist out there. So
Right.
so
It's
when
not
it comes-
natural for them to be polygamous, and it's not natural for them to vary what they eat.
And that's just it. So I don't feel it's natural for us to be polygamous.
But
I
it's
believe
not-
there are polygamists out there, but I do not believe we evolved to be polygamous. I believe we are a monogamous species, and that's why our society evolved in that way over time. And I think the reason why we have the feelings like jealousy that really will drive people crazy sometimes is because we were evolved to feel that way for a very specific reason, and that was to be a monogamous species. If it didn't matter, then there wouldn't be that stigma of jealousy that happens to 90% of the people out there that are in relationships.
Well, most of the country right now is obese. Do you think we've evolved to be an obese people?
Yes.
No.
Absolutely.
But it kills us. It kills you when you're obese.
Right, but I mean, like, okay, I get that, but what I'm saying though is, as a society though, we're hunters, right? The whole thing is we just have too much of it now.
Right.
So it's just in the case of relationships, it's the same reason why people get depressed when they don't find somebody to be with. They could have as many sexual partners as they want, but they'll still be depressed because they want to find somebody who's going to stick by them and they can be with for the rest of their life.
Yeah, because that person never got to have pizza. They only got to have all the other stuff that they didn't get to have every day, except for pizza, and pizza's their favorite thing. So my point being is, it's not like you can say that cheating on somebody is wrong, but the desire to have variance in your sexual partners is natural. Okay, that's why we accept pornography a lot of the time, because you understand that this person doesn't necessarily want to cheat on you, but it's natural to want something else other than your favorite food that you have every single day so they can watch porn. So why, if someone says, I quit porn, or my boyfriend quit porn, so I let him go and do this with another person every once in a while, as long as I know about it, how is that any less healthy than saying I accept that he's addicted to porn?
Well, I'm not arguing that there are people out there that are okay with that and have those discussions, but the question was, are we a monogamous species, or are we a polygamous one? And I don't believe we evolved to be polygamous. I think we are by nature monogamous. And
I think that we evolved to be polygamous and we chose to be monogamous. I think monogamy is a
Exactly.
societal rule that we all, in Western culture particularly, in the society we know and grew up in, we have all agreed that that is the way we want to conduct ourselves.
Because we have preference and because we have jealousy.
And I think there's a lot of, for most people, maybe not for yourself, but for a lot of people, there's a huge amount of self-control and restraint that goes into following those societal guidelines that we've laid out. But if you took away the guidelines and you told people they don't need to be strong anymore, they don't need to hold back, you can do whatever you want, and society will not judge you in any way for it. I think you would see a majority percentage choose to be polygamous.
And not leave their spouses.
No, but they would choose to conduct their social lives in that way. I think that a lot of people would call that the word freedom. They would try to label it with the word that is freedom.
And I think that I mean, I hope I never live to see the day where all of a sudden,
Me too.
Can you
And
imagine?
I
That'd be
agree
horrible.
with monogamy personally.
Right.
But I'm just being the devil's advocate and trying to put us into an animalistic viewpoint here. You know,
Right.
of not humans, but of animals almost.
Right. So, I mean, and the thing is, this is all going to be theoretical. But, I'm sure out there, maybe one day one of us can look into this. I'm sure there's an answer to this question.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
know.
sure that science has done studies and looked into it. Yeah.
I'm sure that there is an answer to this question. Monogamous may be very unnatural, or monogamy may be. I'm glad it's not. I'm glad that we were able to evolve psychologically as a species and overcome what may be natural.
And also, another little note that I just thought of here for the viewers, guys, is at least anything I said today, I'm pretty sure you guys too, had absolutely nothing to do with a religious connotation. We weren't coming from anywhere religious today.
No.
We were totally putting religion aside.
Yeah.
So once you take that variable and add it to the equation, a lot of people, millions and millions and millions of people live their lives a certain way based on rules they find in the book that they worship.
But religion also never claimed to be completely natural either. It
I-
said that
I-
these are
I
the laws
agree.
of the land, and these are and temptation
I'm just saying
does
for
exist.
the viewers, don't misconstrue anything we said today with any kind of religious belief because it wasn't coming from that place at all.
Right.
I agree with monogamy because the book that I read from and worship teaches monogamy. You're only with one person, and it's particularly naughty to be with multiple people at the same time. So for that, because of emotional beliefs that I have, I choose to conduct my life in a monogamous way.
Right.
But taking those totally aside, if you broke me down in nature to just butt naked with a butter knife living in the forest, and there was other people doing that, I would probably be a polygamous being at that point. It's only the world around us that makes us monogamous.
I want to circle back, if we could,
Yeah.
to the do words matter aspect and talk about when people say, I love you. I think that's what I really missed out on yesterday, what I wanted to touch on. Because I know between the three of us, we've had this conversation a lot. And I feel between the three of us, we all have extremely different views on this. And I think there's an opinion for everyone. So, Adam, I want to hear what you have to say about when you think I love you is okay, friends versus relationships, and how important the word is.
Well, I feel the word is very important. I also feel that, like Matthew, I think I throw it around maybe a little more than I should. But to me, I do believe there's also a lot of different kinds of love. So it's hard. It's hard for me because, like, relationships, for example, I'm always very hesitant about using that word when I'm in a relationship because it means something very different to me when I'm in that relationship than it is when I'm just telling you guys that I love you, And it's very easy for me to feel love towards a stranger that maybe I just met, but it's very hard for me to admit love with somebody that I might be in a relationship with.
So what's the subtext of I love you in a relationship? What are you really saying?
To me, it's announcing unconditional love for that person. It's telling them you could literally do anything and I would still love you for doing it.
Does it mean you're the one? Does I love you mean I think you are the one?
I don't think maybe the one, but I think it's a commitment to see, I want to find out if you are type of thing. Okay. Because I look at like my past relationships, right? And I've been probably in like 4 serious ones. And I have told all 4 of those girls that I love them. And I'd argue a couple of them I was in love with. But, the first girl that I ever said that to, I'll never love anybody the same as I loved that girl. The second girl I was in a relationship with, I'll never love anybody quite the way that I loved her, and so on and so forth. So to me, there's a lot of different kinds of love. There's a lot of different people that I think we are compatible with that we could spend the rest of our lives with. But I think there's also a lot of variables that take place in that. And it's something when you're in a relationship, you should be very hesitant to say to somebody. But when it comes to like friends and things like that, the people in my close circle, I love, but I've also stated in a podcast before that's something I put above love a lot is loyalty. So those who I feel show me loyalty as a friend, I will automatically have, a love for, because I really respect that kind of stuff when you're willing to stick by a friend. But relationships, though, it's more than that. And I always try to get girls that I'm dating to understand that the reason why I'm hesitant about it is because of how strongly I feel about you. It's not the opposite.
Noted. All right, that was good. Sir Matthew of the Shire.
Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I'm super duper loose with the word love. But I don't think that takes any credibility away from how I actually feel about people. I think that when I tell someone I love you, I do actually feel that emotion and I love them. Now here's the difference. Love for me is very much a flat plane. So when I go to my cat and I say, my baby, I love you, and I go to my girlfriend and I say, my baby, I love you, it's literally the same thing. I feel the same way for both creatures. I love them both. Okay? My life would be a sadder, emptier place without that entity. It brings me joy. I want to see good things happen for that entity. Okay? Now, I can say that there's been one human who I've met in my life who surpassed that, who I felt a different level of emotion for, who terrible things happened, and even after that, even years and years later, I still have an emotion inside of me for that person. Now, I'm afraid that I'm mistaking the first concept of love that I said for something different. And maybe this feeling I had for only this one human ever, maybe that's really love. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me to say because I've only experienced the real intense emotion one time. But in general, I think it's okay, personally, to say I love you as soon as you feel the emotion. I think it's very sad that it has such a context behind it.
Yeah.
And that it opens so many metaphorical doors.
Yeah.
Because words do hold power. Yes, I agree. But the pendulum's gone way too far in one direction with that word. That word holds way too much power. And I feel it's really sad to suppress such a beautiful emotion because a word has such heavy context.
Yeah.
That was very beautifully put. And I think, Sir Matthew of the Shire, that this is the first time we might be 100 on something, you and I.
Whoa, that hardly ever happens.
Oh my God. Hardly in sync. So I think we bastardize words. We turn words into things that are bigger than we are, even though we're the ones saying them.
Yes.
And it was so funny because I started saying I love you to Bob Man way before he was ever ready, way before. And he was really uncomfortable with that. And so what I would tell him is, look, maybe you have a hang up about this word, but I do not.
Yeah.
So I'm going to respect the page that you're on, but you need to respect the page that I'm on, and I want to say I love you.
So you didn't require him to say it.
I did not.
You didn't make him. You
I
said
didn't,
when you're ready.
Well, I didn't care if you loved me yet, mutually.
But
I
you were ready for
cared that
that.
I would be able to say that, right? So it was so weird to me because I knew he loved me. I just knew it. And he knew it too, but because he hadn't said it, I felt he felt that he was not free to love.
Right.
And as long as you take this word and you give it so much power, you are debilitating yourself from truly allowing yourself to love.
To feel the emotion.
And you shouldn't,
Yeah.
I don't think you should be stingy with love, I think you should give out as much love as possible all the time. I think you should try to feel love for somebody when you're with them. It shouldn't be difficult. If it's really hard to feel any sense of love with someone when you're dating them, when things are supposed to be good,
And you're probably not in a totally great situation.
Yeah.
But isn't giving out love all the time spoiling people? Isn't that giving them pizza all the time?
Well, you should give them pizza all the time if they want it.
Yeah,
If
but
the world was full of pizza, it'd be a much more beautiful place.
I think you should, if you're looking for love, try to love. Try to love. You know, it's not like, I think you can love before you're in a relationship, because technically that's what I did. And I know it's love now. I know looking back that I was capable of loving this person before we were ever technically, officially in love with each other. So it took, and it's crazy because once you say, I love you, it's always I love you. There's so much I love you going on. And this I love you could have been happening so much longer.
Yeah.
Wasn't it
But you
better
got hung
now
up
that
on
you
a
say-
word.
Yeah, you let this word stop you from actually feeling, believe it or not, because once you start saying I love you, then the love just keeps pouring in and it just keeps getting richer
And it feels
and
good
better.
to say those words, does it? I mean, is it just me, or like, don't you get a little tingle inside when you just say the words like, I love you, just to the wall? Doesn't it kind of do something inside of you?
I think it does when it's truly meant. And that's why I say I don't think it should just be given out to like everyone. I do think there should be a context behind the word.
Well, there
you know?
there is context. I
see
just
that
don't
too.
think that it should
I mean,
be...
it's like if I'm telling you guys that I love you, and then all of a sudden we meet a stranger, you know, that comes into the house for the first time, you know, and then I tell them I love you. And then, well, and then I'm telling, you know, my girlfriend that I love her. Well, at that point, unless there's this understanding of the context behind the word, then the word just becomes convoluted and then it doesn't mean anything. So then what does it truly mean when I tell you guys that I love you if I'm just willing to say that to anybody?
Well, you might be somebody who loves easily.
Yeah, as long as you're not lying. Now,
Right.
I get what you're saying, that if you did not feel an emotion inside and you still said X, I love you, but you don't love X. You're cheating yourself. You're lying to yourself and you're lying to X. That obviously, when you lie and cheat, it takes credibility away from any situation.
Then you're just a liar or a cheater.
Or a cheater.
Yeah.
But if you truly, like me, I'm someone who I feel loves very easily, almost too easily. Because you can love to the point of being manipulated all the time, too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where if you really, truly love your cat, and you really, truly love your roommate, and you really, truly love your mother, that is the same love in each one of those. That's love, love, love. But one's a cat, one's a roommate, and one's the person who gave you life.
And it's a different kind of love. But I don't think that your cat is more entitled to I love you than your girlfriend is of 4 months that you're just not sure if it's the right time to tell her I love you. Like, if 2 months in and you're still kind of new, she brings you your favorite food to work, right? You never told her it was your favorite food. It was just happened to be where she was. It felt right. I love the fuck out of you right now. Like, you got in my head. I didn't tell you any of this. In this moment, you are perfect. And I feel love for you. I love you. And I just never personally felt the need to not tell someone that when I felt that about somebody. So
But I'm sure you've been ridiculed by people for saying that.
totally,
Yes.
totally,
Yes,
by the person that I love, actually.
yes, I'm sure.
And it's just funny because, not that I'm always right, but this time,
He says with a huge smirk on his face.
but I was right again, because he did love you the whole time. It wouldn't have been different if he did say it the whole time. Now he says it all the time, and I think that we wasted a whole lot of time.
And I do also want to go back real quick to Adam here, that I do fully agree and see where you're coming from. There is a difference and a distinguishing factor between like and love.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you just say, I love lamp. Well,
Right.
no, you like the lamp. You like it a lot. You're very into
Right.
it, but you don't love it. Like, I can see where you can overuse the word.
Right.
So I get where you're coming from in
Oh,
that.
well,
I felt
I
like we
agree
kind of
too.
shut you down
Well,
in
no,
your
no,
opinions
well,
there,
I-
and
it
I
just-
didn't mean to do that.
No, and I didn't feel shut down at all. But I mean, I just think when it comes to saying it, like you were saying, when you're in a relationship, if you feel it, say it no matter, the time that you've been in there. But I just look at it as when I'm in a relationship and this is somebody I could potentially spend the rest of my life with and make that sort of commitment with them, and that commitment is you could do anything, I'm still going to love you for it. I don't think that should just be something that is said, because whether you like it or not, when you're in a relationship, that word love does carry a different context now. There is a different connotation connected
It does
with
change
it.
things after you say the word.
Exactly.
You are right.
So I think in those cases, one should be hesitant about it. I mean, you even said, Justin, that you said, I love you to your boyfriend, and now, right now, you're sure that it is love that you feel.
Well, I knew then it was love that I felt. I wasn't sure if the love that I felt immediately when I met him was love. Now I'm so sure. I mean, he's the last one I'm ever going to love because this is it. But now I'm sure I really feel that way.
I know you do. That's why I'm laughing.
I really feel lucky. I feel like I cracked the code. I feel like I did it right the first time, so everybody should listen to me. But anyway, whatever. And for all you hoochies, if Adam's ever said I love you to you, you're lucky. Do you hear that?
Very lucky.
To all you hoochies,
says it
if
to
I
me
said
every
it to
day.
you, well, whatever.
All right. Well, I would love to continue on with this conversation.
This was a good one
I have
today.
really enjoyed it, but I do have to. Adam does have a day job that he has to get to.
So does Justin.
I'm off today.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast, today's second 3-man podcast. Remember, you can like us on all the social media channels. Remember to check out both Matthew and I's vlogs on the YouTube channel. And remember, we do have a Patreon you can donate to. That's www.patreon.com/hardlymillennial.
What
As
number is
little as-
this? What number podcast is this?
I want to say it's 59, but it might be 58.
Oh my God,
But
I can't
think
wait
it's
for the next one. What about you guys? I can't wait.
Can't wait, guys. All right. Any final thoughts, Matthew?
We love you guys.
I was going to say that.
Is that
Well,
your-
I love you guys.
Oh, is that your final thought, Justin?
That's my final answer.
Motherfucker.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye.